I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Guido Nunez. Guido is a real estate entrepreneur who has been featured in many podcasts. Lucky to get him here on mine. And most recently you spoke at the Multifamily Masters Summit. Guido, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, for sure. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I was hoping that you could just kind of give us a little bit of your background, tell us your story, and then we'll kind of dive into whatever you feel like is the most important parts.
Yeah. So like you said, my name is Guido Nunez. I'm founder of Christina Wealth Partners. We're a real estate investment venture. Right now, we are all active looking for additional real estate investments in different fast appreciating markets like Texas and Arizona. We are in short of 200 doors right now, all on the active JV or GP side, and we're just looking to continue to grow. But I think for all your listeners, I think the most important piece of what we've done is we've been able to grow and do all this success while still having a full-time W-2 job. So that's kind of been the happiness, I guess, to put it a different way.
Yeah, no, that's very impressive. I know, I know firsthand how, the amount of time it takes in sort of building your schedule around that in order to be able to invest in real estate. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how that's worked for you, how you've made it work and been able to be that successful in real estate while also maintaining your job?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it first happened when I was laid off in like 2011 or 12 or some point like that. And I just started trying to understand how I can take more control of my future and not have it kind of fall into, one person's decisions or, the corporate acts and be kind of a victim of that. So I just, returned back to corporate America after I was laid off. And then I started figuring out like, how can I do some sort of investment thing? And I kind of fell into the first trap of what everybody says, I don't have time, it's either that or I don't have money. Right. And, I don't have time was the one that was always in my head. It's like, I don't have time. I have a full-time job. I can't do it. And then I just, around that time, a movie came out and it's one of my favorite movies. It's called The Pursuit of Happiness. And in the movie, Will Smith kind of says, I had to learn how to do in 6 hours what everyone else did in 9. And it just kept resonating in my head throughout, the months and years. And I just started thinking into myself, it's maybe I'm just valuing time differently. And so I just started trying to figure out and realize that like in a whole day, as we go through, there is kind of the core things that we have to get done to get our job objectives completed. And then outside of that, it's just, there's a lot of fluff in it.
Yeah.
And then on top of the fluff, there's just a lot of bullshit in there. And if we just cut through all that and just get to the core of what we need to do to get our job done, we'll actually find that we have more time than we think we are, Yeah. And so once I started valuing time differently, I realized that I can do a lot more things. I can, network more. I can read more. I started realizing that, doing simple things like walking my dog, for example, or running or jogging could be done simultaneously with a podcast book.
Right.
The drive home in traffic didn't have to be listening to like the radio. It could be calling a connection. Yep. And making a strong new tie there. And so I just started valuing time more for what it was. It's the efficiency of it. And when I had a little bit of it, I made the most of it. And so that's kind of how I started getting more out of my days.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's, everybody has the same amount of time, right? We
Yeah.
all have the same amount of time in the day, and so you can. To me, it's like I look at people like yourself and other successful investors, and well, if other people can do it, then why can't I do it? And
Yep.
so it's just a matter of what you're choosing to do with that time,
Yep.
and kind of making the most of it. And that's, like you said, a lot of our day is
Yeah.
is probably time wasted in reality,
Yeah.
or a lot of people's,
Yep.
most people's days are time wasted. And so it's a matter of figuring out how to take that wasted time and use it effectively,
Yeah.
like you said,
Exactly.
speeding in a car.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that, that we're doing things that we don't enjoy and we're miserable and all we're doing is
Right.
working. Because sometimes I'll get that question. It's just like, excuse me, um, like, geez, I get tired all the things you're doing, and I'm just like, yeah, it's sure, it's there's a lot that happens in the day, but it's not like I'm miserable. Like, I'm having fun doing it. Like,
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'm meeting a lot of new people. There's a lot of idea generation, and I'm just make the most of everything. And one thing that I don't think we talk enough about, is that um, once you hit financial freedom and you still have your W-2 job, you're happier, right? You go to your job, um, you're there because you want to be there, not because you have to be there, not because the grind makes you be there.
Mhm.
You're just happy, you're there because you want to be there. And I've joke around a lot more, and I'm just in a better mood all in all. So there's a lot of intrinsics that come once you start hitting that financial freedom.
Absolutely. And it's a, I would say, tell me if you disagree, but I would also say it kind of puts you in a position of power in a way, in that, people say you want to, for example, people say you want to look for, if you're going to switch jobs, you want to have a new job before you, kind of move on to the next job. So essentially, if you're working for a W-2 and you're already financially free because you have, whatever it is on the side, if it's investing in real estate, now when it comes time to, if you want to switch jobs, or it's time to renegotiate your contract and things like that, you don't have to do it from a position of fear. You do it from a position of, hey, I'm here because I want to be,
Yep.
and I provide this value to the company. So I
Yep.
think it definitely changes your mindset and your perspective on how you approach your job. Like you said, now you're doing it because you want to, and you're happy. And it's not like, oh, if I don't do this, I can't eat or don't have a place to live. It's a much more, positive perspective on it, I would say.
Yeah, all in all, in life, in total, and everything. And I think that's like one of the things that we don't talk about enough, among the people who have achieved financial freedom, is like we don't talk enough about the intrinsics,
Yep.
because there's a lot of extra, I guess, material things that are wordish, I guess, but not enough about how much happiness you kind of feel once you get it, because you do in fact feel like free.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, it really is the time freedom, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I feel so much happier because I have a pile of money or something. Like,
Yeah,
it's really
exactly.
just, it's what that money and what that time disconnected money
Yeah.
means to you, right? You don't have to put in more work to get it. And so, it sort of really frees you up. It's just, it does make everything easier. And I know, you touched on this, and I think it's a kind of an important topic. You touched on how, at least initially, how much you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You've got your W-2 job. You're also working on your real estate business,
Yeah.
sort of when you can in between. And people wonder, well, don't you get tired? How do you do? And you said, you alluded to the fact that, well, now it's something you're passionate about, right? So you're
Right.
enjoying what you're doing in there.
Right.
But I think, and I think that's 100% true. So if getting into real estate investing makes you miserable, well, don't do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
fill your time with that, or be a passive investor or something like that. So
Yeah.
if it's you're spending that time unhappy, well, don't do that. Don't add
Yeah.
that to yourself. But at the same time, I think also realizing that over time, you're making an investment in yourself, and that time is an investment in yourself, and it's going to get easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So a couple of years down the road, as you build your portfolio, your passive income increases, well, now you don't have to be hustling all the time, and you can start to now put in the things that you really want to do with that time, right? Family
Yeah.
or whatever it is you're trying to free that up for. So it's all about, that investment, and it's been shown over and over again just by, looking around, that it can be done, right? It's an achievable thing. You have enough time if you make the time, you prioritize.
Yeah. Very, very true. I mean, there's a book, Cash Flow Quadrant, that kind of said the quote, like the it was by Robert K. Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like the more my dad got successful, the more time he had.
Right.
And you would think it would be the opposite, right? It makes sense of what we're talking about. Like the more you invest in this type of financial freedom, the more time you have to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah. If you keep taking on more and more jobs, or more and more, non-passive side hustles, well, you're going to use up your time, and you're eventually not going to have enough time to do more. But if you can take those jobs and take the money and put it into, kind of your investments, that's what's really going to be freeing. I actually, you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. He was, I don't know, a month ago, was on the Bigger Pockets podcast, and I listened to that one, and he said something that hit me, like, so it was just so perfect of description of what I was sort of feeling, or what I've been feeling right now. And he said, I have businesses so that I can take that money and invest it.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just like, yeah, that's what you do, right? You work to get your money into investments. And so you're switching which of those cash flow quadrants you are actually in, from, employee, business owner, whatever it is, to the investor one. So it was that struck me, because I've realized, or I've felt recently, that it's like, it's almost like an addiction now. It's like any of the money I make working in my W-2 job, I just want to pump it into investments and start to make that money work for me. And it's a process that I wished I started years ago, but here it is.
Yeah. I mean, the old adage, right? It's like, you don't make money while you're sleeping, you'll work for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think people are resistant to it at first, but once they realize, it's like, once you start doing it and you realize how effective it is, and it's like, that's, you can see that, almost that light at the end of the tunnel. Like, hey, I've made, I did one investment, I've got this much passive cash flow. Now, if I do, 3 more, look at where I'll be at. So it just, and the money compounds, and the time compound. I mean, it's really just a great, the best kind of snowball effect that you can imagine. So it works very, very well. Well, tell me a little bit about your real estate business, kind of what's your role, what you're doing with your portfolio, kind of how you said you have about 100 or 200 units, kind of how did that come about, and what's, like I said, what's your role?
So I'm a principal, depending on which asset we're working on, which deal we're working on. I'll take some sort of active role in the deal, also GP and syndications. The one that we're working right now, we're working in Arizona or Texas. We're looking for a mid-sized property. On that one there, I'm leading it with a JV partnership. And so I'll do everything from like the underwriting, work with the brokers, the relationships, try to source and size the deals and bring it all together. So it just depends on the deals of what role I'll take,
Yeah, great. And are you doing syndication, or you're mostly doing joint ventures?
Joint ventures. Yeah.
It's a nice joint venture. I think I mean, they're I feel very different. Joint venture, syndication, and the joint venture is just a lot simpler. You can have a smaller number of partners. You don't have to go through all the SEC legal stuff. It's just an easier thing to get done.
Yeah, it is. I mean, puts and pluses and minuses, puts and takes on JVs. Obviously, if you're limited to the capital of your partnerships,
right?
That's really it. But it could still be lucrative. but obviously with syndications, you can cast a wider net.
Right.
But for now, we're doing JVs. We'll eventually go back to syndications.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good. It's almost good to have a mix of them. It just whatever partnership structure works for the particular deal.
Yeah.
I think you just do whatever makes sense.
Yeah, I think so, and I think also depends on because I've met people who they only want to be LPs, right?
Right.
And so I'll enter them in my investor spreadsheet with LPs, right? They're like they want to be LPs, and I've met some that they want to roll in the partnership. So then I know, okay, they're more like joint ventures.
Yeah.
And then I'll know the sponsors or syndicators that are leading the big asset buys. And then I may want to raise for them, at some point. So I'll have the relationships there. So it just allows you to pivot in different ways depending on what you want to do. Right now, we're doing the JVs. We have the right partners for that. But next year I may want to pivot again and raise and go back to syndications. And so just having some options, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. And you sort of touched on just the networking component of that, if
knowing, it's huge,
knowing as many people as you can and understanding what their investment goals are and what their journey is. And so people that want to be completely passive, great, then they're right there for LPs. And there's people that want to have that bigger hands-on role. So it's just I'm glad that you sort of mentioned that.
And it's huge, and that's one of the things that I always tell investors that want to get into the more of the active side of the business is build your network. That's probably one of the biggest things you can possibly do, because if you don't have the capital, you can find a deal, and if you have the network, you can raise the capital, right, for someone else. And in either way, you can do it. It doesn't take a lot of money. You just got to build your network, and that's probably one of the most important things that you can do. In the business.
Absolutely. You just it's I feel like we keep coming up with all these different real estate sayings, but your network is your net worth.
I hate being cliche, but it's true.
It's
true.
It's very true. And I think it's especially when you're looking at multifamily and larger deals, it's definitely a team sport. It's really nearly impossible to do it on your own. So it just
for sure. I can't think how many times I've looked into my network digital Rolodex and just figure out, like, who do I know that can help me do XYZ, and I'll find somebody, or they'll refer me to somebody that knows something, and I'll figure it out. Before it was alien. It's like there's no way that this could be done. But now it's just like if you have that different mindset, it was like, instead of it can't be done to how can I do it, it all comes in play. But it falls back again with making sure you have a big enough network to get it done.
So important.
Well,
Guido, let's shift gears a little bit here. We'll go to sort of the portion of the podcast where I like to ask each guest kind of the same set of questions. The first one is based on the name of the show being Know Your Why. So I like to ask everybody, what is your why? What drives you? What pushes you towards this success and working a W-2 job as well as being a real estate investor?
I just want to just feel free. Like, I just want to wake up one day and just feel like I don't want to go to my job, and I just want to sit on the beach with my my tablet or something, and I'm just going to do business from there. And doing so, it's not going to affect anything, the lifestyle that my family has, my kids have, their future. And having that freedom just kind of drives me every day, because I think as we've kind of gone through the years and decades, we're always taught to just get a job, get a paycheck, pay your taxes, and we almost become slaves to our paychecks and the things that we own. So just being able to get up one day and just be like, you know what, I don't feel like I'm gonna do this, and nothing's gonna change, because nothing owns you. That drives me a lot, and now I almost feel like because my passive income now has rivaled now my W-2 income. Now I kind of sit back and I'm just like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
And that excites me a lot, because what is next, right? And so now I started thinking, because I feel so young, like what is next? And so my why continues to always evolve, like what's next?
Yeah. No, that's great. I was going to ask you just sort of a little follow up to that one.
Mhm.
Do you have a number in mind? You don't have to say the number. I'm just curious. Do you have a number in mind when you think you will be, sort of free, or is that just going to be a feeling one day that you'll say, yeah, I did it. I'm good now. I can, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I've asked myself that same question. I work in an industry where, I feel blessed, like we make well into the six figures.
Yeah.
So when my passive income now rivaled that, it felt like I accomplished something. I don't know if there is a number. There is always a number, right? I just feel it's just a feeling where I am just satisfied with what I've done in my W-2 job, and I just want to do something else. And it's all on my terms, not because somebody dictated it. Um, yeah, I just don't have a number. And I think that's good.
Yeah. No,
It makes it just feel more hungry to continue.
yeah. And I think it's funny because I also don't have a number. There's not like
Yeah,
I feel like there's going to be this number where I'm like, perfect. Now I flip a
yeah,
switch and I don't work in a W-2.
yeah,
But I think it's an interesting, sort of mindset there, because I think some people do. Some people think,
yeah,
here, when I get to this number of doors or this amount of monthly cash flow. But when I started sort of my journey into real estate, that's what I tried to do that. I was sort of told, set a goal, so you have tangible goals and you
yeah,
have this. So I did it, wrote it down on paper, and then I was losing sight of why I lost sight of my why, because I was so set on, I got to get to these certain milestones by this certain amount of time.
yeah,
And I think having goals are really important, but I also think like having goals that are dictated by what you actually want out of life. And, if what you want out of life is to leave your W-2 job as quickly as possible, then
yeah,
yeah, maybe you have to say, this is how much money I need to make that
yeah,
happen. But yeah, I think it's kind of a nice situation to be in, where that's not really necessarily my goal to
yeah.
never do never do surgery again. Like
Yeah,
that's not what I
yeah,
want.
yeah.
So
And
it's,
you're right, because it depends, because some people may not like their job, and their goal is to leave that grind and find a
right.
new passion, and this may be it, and that's the goal, that they can pay all their bills, and so they make that transition.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, second question then
Yeah.
is, can you tell us something about yourself that isn't common knowledge? Maybe a special skill that you have, or a hobby that you're trying to develop, something that maybe just not everybody knows about you.
I am a second degree black belt.
Oh, wow.
Uh, that probably, yeah, isn't well known.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have no martial arts background,
Yeah.
so I hear things like that. I just know it takes a long time to get to that level. So
Yeah, it took a long time. Yeah, it took a long time.
do you still, are you still, do you still,
Yeah, I don't. I finished, once I got my second degree, I stopped. I took running. I just finished my fourth marathon on Sunday, and
was that New York? Was New York?
no, LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which will, by the way, I'd love to do New York
Yeah.
if I got a chance to do it. I think there's a raffle or something.
Have
I've
you
entered it.
have you
No,
done Boston?
I won't qualify. I'm not that fast.
Well, so I
Qualify.
did Boston, but you can do it through charity. So I didn't qualify time wise either, but yeah,
Yeah.
you can sign up through a charity and
Charity?
get in that way. It's just, I'm from Boston, so it meant a lot to me.
Oh,
But
right on. Boston's strong. Right on.
it's a great course. I think doing New York would also be awesome like that. Just
Yeah.
like that, it's so kind of historic and iconic running through the boroughs. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, good for you. That's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
All right, so next question is, how can people reach you? What's the best way when people hear this and they want to reach out to you and connect? How would you advise them to do that?
Yeah, they could just send me an email at Guido at the W2 Investor. I'll reply with my Calendly and we'll set some time to talk. You could just follow me on Instagram as well at the W2investor.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's up on my screen as well.
It's right there in the background.
Yeah.
And we'll put in the show notes, so it'll
Cool.
be for people too. So awesome. And then Guido, final question for you is, what piece of advice would you give to someone who is maybe a couple of years behind you in their journey? And how would you inspire them or motivate them to reach the level of success that you have?
I would say that if I can build the same amount of passive income that my salary does while having a W-2 job, anybody can do it. You got to value your time differently. You got to be more disciplined at the beginning and build your network. And I'd say it's a little bit cliche, but you got to believe in yourself as well.
Yeah, no, that's I feel like that's huge. Just
a
little bit of self-belief, because there are going to be people that will give you some negative feedback on it. And
for sure.
Roadblocks, and you're gonna, there's going to be times when it's hard. So you need to believe in what you're doing, and but selfish plug, know your why. You need to be able to have a strong why as to why you want to push through.
And that's a great point. You have to know your why, because there's going to be a lot of down days as well, and the why kind of helps you pick yourself back up.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy the whole way. But it's worth it. I think
it is worth it. Yeah,
at the end of the day.
Well,
let me just pick your brain and follow up to that, because you mentioned networking a couple of times. What would you give people advice on that? How would you suggest that people build their network?
I do it a few ways, but I've kind of found like the biggest one that has been the most fruit is conferences. And then when you go to conferences, you can't be shy. You got to shake a lot of hands, get a lot of cards, or I don't know, there's a name for it when you kind of bump your cell phone to. I have found myself in lunches with developers, and somehow I finagled my way to sit with them, and from there just a lot more contacts, like good ones. And I'm appreciative of people like that are able to teach you, give you advice, talk to you, and you can do it other ways, and on Facebook, social media, connect with people that you know. But I think for me, on a personal level, it's really the conferences has been the ones who have springboarded me multiple times from there.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, or you could do your own meetup. It's probably another easy way to do it. I run one, and I've met a few investors from there that I've consistently stayed connected with as well. That's kind of an easy way.
No, that's great. Appreciate that. That's all great advice. Well, listen, this has been great. I really appreciate your time and kind of sharing your journey. I think there's a lot of stuff there that people can really use and take as actionable advice, and take it from both of us, I guess, that you can do this while still having a job. It's not it's not impossible. It's very achievable. So I think that's a good message to have out there. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll go ahead and get there.
I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you.